and welcome back to this week's edition of the MHS Coaches Show. Ryan Lilly, Eric Myers here with you, and this week, last week, let's go back. Last week, the weather was amazing.
Yeah.
All around our sports got outside, right?
It was great. Really, really fantastic week. Really 2 good weeks coming back from, that spring break time. Maybe less so to start this week a little bit. We were out there yesterday for baseball. Windy, kind of cold, little sun, which wasn't bad, but I kind of missed the 75-80 when we're down to back into the 50s.
Yeah, I mean, that 35-mile-an-hour wind yesterday was a little bit brutal after a couple hours, but, Sunday was bad, too, with the cold, freezing rain. I mean, some people saw snowflakes, but anywho, so baseball team had a big week last week, a couple of games there, but the real thing was on Saturday where we played St. Lawrence and U High. How did that turn out from a baseball perspective?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, varsity baseball kind of struggled a little bit on Saturday. Tough losses against the state-ranked St. Lawrence team and U High, non-conference action, obviously, so it doesn't affect the Middle Illini standings. Braylon Smith did hit 2 home runs, obviously, so that was awesome.
Positive to see him kind of clicking a little bit.
Yeah.
Struggled a little bit from the plate to get going this year, but maybe that's finally started to click.
Yeah, I think so. And again, the St. Lawrence team, they're ranked number 1 in the state, and honestly, they kind of proved it. I mean, they beat Morton 12-5. They run-ruled U High. I mean, they had 3 Division I kids at the top of their lineup. I think you just can't say enough about how deep that particular team is. The U High game for the Potters was a 9-8 loss, just kind of one of those wild, kind of weird games. Just couldn't quite finish it off.
Yeah, and we both watched the game, and we both texting back and forth, figure out what happened there at the end of the play. At the end of the day, the umpires have the final call, and that's what really matters. But not the way the Potters went in that Saturday doubleheader. And then last night, we hosted Pekin, and did not go in our favor as well. A 4-2 loss there as well. So Potters are reeling just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Potter's still at 10-5, which in baseball, if you win 2 out of every 3, that's significant. You're going to have a significantly above average season. Obviously, the tough side of it for the Potters right now is that they've lost, 4 in a row, but they do get to get back out against Galesburg. As we're filming this on a Tuesday, they're going to play Galesburg Tuesday evening, and then they're going to obviously have a chance for revenge against Pekin on Wednesday. So hopefully, by the time you're seeing this, they're back to 12-5 and have kind of righted the ship a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully. And then that Thursday, when you do see this, that night, they're going to play Richwoods at home. So obviously, come on, check out Potters baseball. Switching gears, going across to another diamond, softball. Softball got a big win versus Limestone, behind Riley Gashaw's pitching performance there, which was pretty spectacular on the mound, as I've heard. But Lady Potters got 9 hits in that win against conference-filled Limestone, so another good win.
Yeah, another really good win. And this week they're gonna play Bloomington in non-conference. They got EP and Dunlap in conference, then a road trip to I think it's a road trip, I believe.
On Friday.
Yeah, to Farmington. So I mean, obviously there's some tough games in there. I mean, EP is a powerhouse, but I mean, honestly, we talked about last week about that first win against DMAC and maybe building some momentum. I think you might see that pay off this week a little bit because Bloomington is a team I think that we can be competitive with. Dunlap is about the same as us as far as like Middle Illini standings. I'll be completely honest, I don't know a ton about Farmington softball, but I mean, I think you could see some positive growth from softball this week, kind of building off of that Limestone victory.
You speak it right. So as coaches, it's like baby steps. We can't fix everything at once. It's just not possible. There's not a big enough duct tape strip for any sort of team. So it's finishing those little baby steps and getting it there, one little thing, and building wins. So 2 wins, 2 weeks in a row. So it's positive. Going even more off the beaten path here, our bass fishing team competed in the Middle Illini tournament last week. Got 3 fish, 9.5 pounds, which is pretty good right there. Didn't place, but overall a successful outing there for our bass fishers over there. I think that was in Kingston Mines is where it was fished. So congrats to our Middle Illini bass fishing team.
Yeah, I mean, they're working hard, and obviously bass fishing, is an IHSA sport, so they'll have regional, sectional, and, bass fishing has won a state championship in Morton before, so, there is some legacy there.
Well, and I love to bass fish, so always going as much as that as possible. It's one of those joys that I spend with my kids. So, boys tennis. We mentioned last week boys tennis is rolling. And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, really good, right? First overall to Pekin Invitational. Max Sullivan first in number 3 singles. Aiden Belsley obviously did really well first in doubles. Carter Kendall first in number 1 singles. Joe Campbell first in number 2 singles. MJ Kaufman second in number 2 singles. Blake Shoemaker obviously was the doubles partner there we were talking about, so the first in number 1 doubles. Just really good overall. They're trending toward a matchup with Dunlap.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah,
it's coming.
I saw Coach Miller we were both getting white buses to drive our teams to away games, and he mentioned that Dunlap is a powerhouse, and so they're eyeing that matchup because they're probably both going to be undefeated when they play each other.
I mean, hats off to our tennis program right there. Nothing more when you come home from a Pekin Invitational with a big trophy, and you just heard Coach Lindley say right there, first, and then even some of those people had to play each other, right? So to get those, so that is a huge hats off to our boys tennis team. If you can get out there to any of these courts and watch them play, that'd be great. I know they're trying to pack the stadium out there for that game versus Dunlap. They're trying to break an attendance record. I think everybody gets a bracelet of some sorts as well. So
yeah, and I mean, and again, they're going to do player introductions, kind of like the same way you might see a basketball team get introduced. So it should be a lot of fun.
Obviously, so if you can get out there, we'll try to bring you some updates on that as well. Maybe get some video footage. We're trying to get MPTV out there to work on that too. And then switching gears, track and field. So we just had the opportunity to sit down with one of Morton's track and field stars per se, Carl Whitaker. And what do you have to say, Coach?
Yeah, Carl, very excited. I mean, he's coming off a couple school record relays with his teammates. Let's go ahead and watch this interview with Carl, and then we'll come back and kind of break down some of the track and field success. Ryan Lindley here for our MPTV Coaches Show with one of our track student athletes, Carl Whitaker, coming off of a great meet. Carl, just talk to me a little bit about how that went.
So we ran the 4x1 and 4x2 in Galesburg really well. We broke the school record in both of them. In the 4x2, we shattered it with a 129 something. With the previous record was like a 131. Running it was close the whole time with Galesburg. And then Luke Schaff on the third leg got a lot of ground that we had lost, and then I was able to catch the last guy, pass him up.
Talk to me a little bit about that, right? So you're running anchor. So for those that aren't necessarily experts in track, that means you run last. So you're one of the four-person team. You run fourth. You said Luke is on the third leg. He's gaining a lot of ground. You're seeing kind of what's happening. What are you thinking about as you're seeing him and he's about to hand that baton to you?
Well, so our coaches were actually standing over by where I get the handoff at, and I could hear him yelling that I'm going to have to sprint. And I knew that the other team's fastest guy wasn't their anchor, so I knew I could easily catch this guy and pass him. I just had to run fast.
Let's go kind of big picture, right? So it's still relatively early in the season, I'd say, or at least kind of about halfway through, I guess, we're being completely honest. What is setting this record early on do for you all in terms of kind of setting goals for the rest of the year?
Well, it definitely helps a lot because right now our time's ranked #1 in the state, and we know our handoff, one of them wasn't great. We know that we can all run faster, that we haven't reached our potential. So we know that there's a good shot that we could place, if not win state in the 4x2.
And so this next question, maybe you've already answered it, but I'll get you out of here with this. Just what is the goal for this season? I mean, is it that state championship?
Yeah, individually, in those events, yeah, definitely at least place. But I think we have a good shot as a team to win a state championship with how deep we are around with distance and short distance. Awesome.
Thanks, Carl, and good luck.
Thanks.
Well, you can see right there, Carl is super excited about breaking those school records, smashing it as he used there. So, I mean, some really good ones there. So, speaking of those records, the 4x2 and the 4x100 relay teams broke those records. So, the 4x200 team, Michael Wong, Nazim Mason, Luke Schaff, Carl Whitaker ran 1.29.6, smashing the previous record that goes all the way back to 1980, which, if I can do some math, I think that's before me and you were born. So that's pretty old. 43
years by my math. I mean, to carry my numbers.
40. I mean,
yeah, I'm going to carry my numbers here. I'm an English teacher, but bottom line, I mean, awesome job by those guys. And they also set a school record in the 4x100. Obviously, that was a little bit more recent. That was a 2012 record that they broke, but still double-digit years.
I mean, beating two records in one meet, and then as we heard Carl say, that time actually puts them #1 in the state right now, which is really impressive because they still have their season left, give or take, which is impressive. So they can only build upon that and fixing those minor little mistakes. Not to be outdone by the girls' side, right? Our 4x800 indoor state champions also got first place at that meet. Bring home first from the Bloomington invite, and then they had a whole bunch of other personal records that were broken for that girls track and field team there. So sounds like our outdoor girls track and boys track and field teams are really rolling at this point.
Yeah, and I think both teams, I mean, obviously they have some great leadership. I mean, we talked to, obviously, on the girls' side, we saw, a couple of weeks ago, we got to interview them, saw Carl on this week's show. But, I mean, both teams also relatively young. So I feel like, the success they have this year is just going to build for the future.
For sure. And every opportunity you get that opportunity to step in the box or step into the track or the plate or whatever that might be, you learn something. So if you can learn that and repeat it enough, you're going to be really good. Switching gears. Girls soccer, we're out on the pitch last night versus Sacred Heart Griffin. We won.
Yeah, it was a big comeback, kind of a big comeback win after a loss to Rochester last week. Kind of respond to that adversity. Georgia Farrell, 3 goals, hat trick, if you will.
Crazy.
So, yeah.
She was pretty excited. Talked a little bit about it in class today. She was really excited about that. So against a really good perennial powerhouse in girls soccer. So for Coach DeLong to have that, bouncing back after that Rochester loss, they beat Richwoods on Saturday. Improving their records right there. So now what are they? 5-1-1, right?
5-1-1. They got Limestone today as we're recording this. I mean, Limestone is sort of ranked in, I would say, the bottom half of the middle line ice, so you kind of have an expectation you get a W there. Get to 6-1-1 before you match up against Metamora, who's probably your top competitor. Mm-hmm. I mean, Washington's pretty solid too, but there's a pretty strong argument Metamora and Morton are the 2 top competitors in the middle line. That's supposed to be played on Thursday. Spring weather makes us kind of wonder what will Thursday look like because there's some rain in the forecast.
But we're not meteorologists.
No,
so we
definitely
not.
not.
We just use this fancy thing called weather.com, and we hope that we can get all of our games in every single week as we live the spring sports lifestyle right here. We just hope that the weather person makes the rain wait until 8, 9, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I want it to rain. I got farmers in my family, but I want it to rain at night so we can get our sports in.
Totally agree. And they're going to travel, their soccer team's going to travel to Geneseo as they wind out their week. But a big week of things that are happening here in MHS Sports. So just like we always tell you, if you have the opportunity to get out, watch some of these events live in person, or tune into MPTV and the NFHS network, or better yet, even subscribe to the Morton Potter TV channel on YouTube. You can try to bring you as much information as possible in as many ways as possible. As well as most of our sports teams do have Twitter profiles where they post the results as fast as they can get them out there. So, Coach, any final thoughts?
Just kind of echo what you said, folks. Make sure you get out there. I mean, obviously, again, kind of questionable weather, maybe early parts of this week. But again, looks like we're going to get some decent weather next week. And, we're not that far away from kind of those postseason matchups, maybe about a month away from those getting going. So don't miss the opportunity to get out and support your Powder athletes. Obviously. So for Ryan Lillard and Eric Myers, until next week, have a good one. Hey, guess what? We're back here. We have some breaking news. We recorded the show yesterday, and we got some news that just came out. So we want to let you know Morton High School has hired a new head basketball coach. Abe Zeller, currently head coach at Roanoke Benson, will be coming over to Morton next year in the 23-24 school year. He's going to be our new head basketball coach. He's a PE teacher as well. He was the head coach when Roanoke Benson in 2020 was 36-1, made it all the way to the state finals. They were going to play the semifinal game at Carver Arena. Unfortunately, that was 2020, so you can guess what's happening. COVID pandemic hit, and they didn't get a chance to finish the state tournament, but obviously one of the historic seasons in the history of Roanoke Benson. Overall, he's 229-198 as the head coach there. He's been the head coach there for 15 years. So Coach Zeller taking over the Potters basketball program. We'll give you more on him in the coming weeks on the Coaches Show, but we did not want to leave this information for another week. So appreciate you sticking around as we had this little breaking news for you. And next week, come on back. Coaches Show will hopefully have more on Coach Zeller and all the events on the Morton Potters athletics. Bye, everybody.